Jerry and Charlie riding through the airwaves, bringing you the heat. Come on, pull your fans. Now get up out your seats. They're bringing you all things Mets. They're bringing you all things Mets. They're bringing you all things Mets. Now you're listening to Shea Station.
Today is Tuesday, March 24th, the 245th episode of Shea Station. Shea Station is presented to you by Coors Banquet. It is a historic episode as we tee up the 2026 season. There's a lot for us to cover in this video, but I first want to start it by saying Shea Station officially has a presenting sponsor for the 2026 season. Myself and Jerry will be bringing you guys Shea Station on a weekly fixed schedule this year. We're finally back, folks. We got a producer in the room and everything. Shea Station has officially taken a big leap back into main programming for John Boy Media. I'm joined, of course, by Jerry Blevins, who will be joining me every Tuesday throughout the season. Jerry, how the heck you doing?
I'm doing lovely. Yeah, man, this is exciting. Shout out to Coors Banquet for being our featuring sponsor. It's lovely, man. The people don't understand kind of the depths of our show and how long we've been pushing for this and kind of what have we been doing on our own time. But now we're officially back in the fold. We've been pushing for it for a while, and I'm super excited for this Mets season. I'm excited for this Shea Station season. It's just, this is all the excitement at the end of spring training. If it weren't so cold outside, I would be even more excited. But the truth is, all the optimism in the world around life in general, but especially around this baseball season.
Yeah, I mean, to peel back a curtain just a little bit before we go into Mets talk, you guys are constantly in the comment section saying we want more, when's the next episode, all that stuff. And since May of 2023, me and Jerry were kind of just flying by the seat of our pants. I was self-producing the show whenever I had time. Jerry was doing the show when he had time, but he's got a family. He's got a gig with SNY, so it was kind of just here and there. But over the past, almost 3 years, this has been a duo producing this show, and now we're officially back with company backing, with a sponsor, with a producer. So you're going to get a more clean show. You're going to get, a more well-produced show with someone behind the sticks. That's not me kind of rushing it out just to get something out there. So we're really excited. And thank you for sticking with us. The views are the reason this happened. The people sticking with us and, being active in the comment section and asking for more. You guys are the reason we're going to get more this year. So we're very excited. And I just want to say thank you to everybody.
That's it. That's you nailed it. It's the fans, it's the people listening, the comments. When we ask for comments, for likes, for follows, it's not because we need it. It's because, we've been doing this for the love of the game, man. Yeah. This has been a passion project. And to get it back, kind of on the payroll where we're not doing this in our spare time and this can become part of our jobs again. It's lovely, and it's because of you guys listening out there and leaving comments and interacting with us. So thank you very much. We're really excited for this season to present to you the show on a regular basis, something more that we can push a little bit more and get out regularly for you guys.
Hell yeah. And speaking of presenting, I got to shout out our presenting sponsor, Coors Banquet. Baseball is America's pastime, and the traditions of the game go back just as far as its history. My favorite tradition, it's not that, complicated, guys. I love having a Coors Banquet at the stadium. Nice tall boy, nice summer day. It's not going to be early in April because it's still freezing cold in New York. But that's one of my favorite traditions. That's when I unwind and have the most fun. But baseball is more than a game, and Coors Banquet is more than a beer. Coors Banquet is straight from the Rocky Mountains and has been crafted for over 150 years. The Coors Banquet brewing tradition has remained constant since 1873. That was only a couple years before I was born, and uses the finest ingredients. It's an American lager named to honor the celebratory toasts of American miners. It is as ingrained in American culture as baseball itself, and I can believe that. Just like baseball, the Coors Banquet story is woven into the fabric of American history. Get Coors Banquet delivered straight to your door. How about that? Visit Coors.com/Shea right now, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. That's Coors.com/Shea. Start your legacy. Coors Banquet, a proud partner of the New York Mets. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado beer. Thanks so much to Coors Banquet. Now that that's out of the way, Jerry, 5 minutes into the show, let's talk about the New York Mets because we are getting, some finalizations on this 26-man roster. A lot is becoming clear to us in the housekeeping that's going into opening day on Thursday. Paul Skeens at Citi Field. It's going to be a movie. I highlighted some roster updates. Was there anything that stood out to you specifically that you want to start with to kick off our show?
There's for me, it's two big pieces. It's the Manaea being in the bullpen, which has been discussed. It's not brand new news. That's one we need to talk about. And then the other one is obviously the starting right fielder for the New York Mets on opening day. It's Carson Benge making the team officially.
Yeah, I think we start with the good stuff, the young man making it onto the roster at 23 years old. I think in our last podcast, I talked a lot about how Tauchman was really what I thought was going to end up being the plan. He suffered a meniscus tear. He's going to need surgery, so we don't really know when he's going to come back. But also, Carson Benge kind of won the job with playing the hair on fire during spring training. He hit .364 during spring training, had some terrific at-bats. You saw the cannon of an arm in right field. The Mets gave him a ton of runway to really win this spot. You can tell that the front office and guys on the team really are just in love with the personality and the makeup of this kid. And now he's going to be playing right field, hitting ninth on opening day for the Mets. It's been a really long time, really since I think Pete Alonso, that a rookie is going to be starting on opening day. And it's just another wrinkle to the complete starting nine turnover that the Mets are going through from 2025 to 2026. But I'm very happy for him. I'm super excited to watch him play.
Yeah, congratulations, man. What an absolute banger of a way to make your major league debut, make the team out of spring training. Gonna be a starter too. Like that's wild. And he did earn it. And it was a wild ride. I've talked about it a bunch. You were on team Tauchman. Tauchman had a wonderful spring training.
Right.
I think he's a big leaguer regardless, and he didn't get that guaranteed job. Part of the thing, but it was heartbreaking to be on the call, watching him hobble around because you're right on the verge. Last game before an inter squad, he's virtually a lock to make the team, let alone maybe start in right field. That's a tough way to go out. But on the other side of this coin, regardless of what could have happened, sometimes these are the opportunities that you get. They talk about luck, right? You got to have luck on your side. This is the kind of positioning for a guy like Carson Benge where it's bad luck for Tauchman, but who knows what would have happened if he's healthy because he's an established player. You have to be ready when those opportunities present themselves. There's lucky and then there's ready. And if you can combine both of those, it's special. He earned it. He had all this pressure from the front office, from the coaching staff, from himself to come out here and show out in spring training. And he looked the part. His at-bats were polished. I was very impressed with his approach. For such a young guy to have an idea at the plate, like what an ideal kind of 9-hitter. I think that's a perfect spot for him to come in at the bottom of the order, no pressure, ready to just contribute defensively and learn how to be a big leaguer on a team that's ready to compete.
Yeah, you really nailed it on the head with just kind of a perfect situation for him because he's going to improve the outfield defense tremendously. Like Luis Robert and Carson Benge, center and right field. You have Tyrone on the bench. Like this is some of the best outfield defense you will have seen from the Mets in the past 10 years because it's usually not a plus defensive position unit for us. Benge adds to that. He's going to hit ninth in the lineup. He could be, a pseudo second leadoff guy. All he really needs to do is just get on base because all we've heard this offseason of, I can't wait for Lindor and Soto to get on base for Bichette. Benge can be part of that formula now, too, in the later innings. He doesn't need to hit for power. He didn't really hit for power in spring. No home runs, but he had some good batted ball data. Just needs to get on base and continue working great at-bats, going the other way. You know who's going to love watching Carson Benge play every day? Keith Hernandez. Keith Hernandez is going to love watching those at-bats day in and day out. So really happy for him. That's definitely the fun news out of spring training. The less fun news, and it's a guy we love, but it's kind of something that, you alluded to before. We're not necessarily surprised from. Sean Manaea doesn't make the starting rotation the first time out. The Mets are rolling with a traditional 5-man rotation of Freddy Peralta, David Peterson, Nolan McLean, Clay Holmes, and Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga looked great during spring training, kind of took that last spot from Sean Manaea. Manaea is going to piggyback one of those starting pitchers the first time through. I thought it was very interesting that Carlos Mendoza was pretty particular about the wording he used. It kind of made it seem like this might only be a 1 to 2 week thing, and then Manaea will get a nod. but his velo was down in the spring. He didn't look at his top strength. He touched, I think, 92 in the interleague squad game yesterday, which is a positive sign. Obviously, Sean Manaea is a good competitor. He focuses inward on himself for his own performance, but he's not happy with the result. But I do think we saw him piggyback a couple times last year. It worked out pretty well each time, and every time we saw him start a game, it felt like the fourth inning was kind of a hump. I think the Mets made the right decision here, but I'm still surprised that they did it in the first place.
Yeah, it's tough. Like the guy's a professional. He had a rough go last year, and I think it was out because he wanted to work so hard. He tried to come back quick and do too much, and it still happens to veteran guys. You know, he's almost got 10 years of service, and it's still the competitiveness sometimes overtakes the idea of being smart in your approach. Came in this spring training. He had a good spring. It's just his velo was down, and you nailed it. Kodai Senga looks like the version that we saw that was an all-star level. Like, he looks like that guy.
Knock on wood.
And we knew going in that at least 6 guys were slated to be in the rotation, and all remained healthy. These things have a way of working themselves out, you know, whether it's injury or some guy gets traded. All these things figure themselves out. This one didn't, and they were forced to pick. And I think Manaea might be a victim of his own success out of the bullpen and coming in a piggyback role and being able to do all of that. And also because his velo was down. And all things being equal, you want to know what Kodai Senga has left, if he has anything. He looks great, but who knows how that's going to play out? Who knows if his attack is on there, because we haven't seen it for so long. So Manaea is a pro. He's upset, but he understands. He says, look, there's only 5 spots, and the start of the season has so many off days that they don't need that 6th rotation spot yet. So they're going to figure out a way for him to get his innings, to keep his pitch count up. But he's the odd man out, and he understands that he's the odd man out. He gets it. He is on the depth chart, would be the 6th guy based on performance going in. So he's a professional. He has a chip on his shoulder, but it's because he believes and he knows, and you want him to feel like he deserves to be in the rotation. Have at it, buddy. You'll get every opportunity to earn that spot back. So do well, and you'll move up. So I wish him luck, and he'll be a good addition to the bullpen for whatever role, if it's a piggyback or if it's a long guy kind of move.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of told me 3 different things. One, I think Manaea's mental is still in a good spot. His quotes were kind of what you'd expect. Like, he was upset with the situation because he's a competitor, but he complimented the team. He said, that's the best version of the team. We've got 6 very good starting pitchers. I'm still pitching in the big leagues. I can't complain. So I thought that was a good sign, because Sean Manaea, I mean, of anyone on the 26-man roster, he's going to be the last guy in the clubhouse to start clubhouse problems. So I'm not worried about that at all. It told me that David Stearns and the Mets coaching staff do not care about what the number next to your name is in terms of earnings. Like, Sean Manaea is technically the highest earning pitcher on this staff, and he's not in the rotation because he's not one of the 5 best pitchers vying for a starting role. So I thought that was very interesting, because I've been saying for a while, I think Bo Bichette might end up as the DH of this team. And it doesn't really matter if you're making $42 million. If Brett Baty is a better defensive third baseman, you're going to end up DHing. And I think that's fine. It's whatever is going to help this team win baseball games. I think that the Mets are starting to veer towards that kind of decision-making. Lastly, it makes me feel a little bit better about the bullpen. I'm still pretty iffy on the bullpen as a whole, but having Manaea in there with Myers, Braziban, Luis Garcia, Brooks Raley, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, it leaves only 1 spot available. I don't really know who that's going to be. It might be Richard Lovelady. Dickey might be getting another shot because he had a nice spring, and the Mets could use another, prototypical lefty. But Sean Manaea in the bullpen is an asset. That's how I view it. I view him less as an asset in the rotation currently, but like you said, there's 6 months of regular season. A lot can change. Someone might get hurt. Sean Manaea's velocity might return. We don't really know how it's going to crack out, but I think for opening day and the opening weekend, this is the right call.
Yeah, he nailed it. I mean, it is the best version of the team as it stands. And he understands that. He's got to earn that paycheck. You're a ball player. The team tells you what you got to do. Ultimately, it's on you to execute. So,
speaking of the best pitchers on the team, Laura Albanese spoke to Freddy Peralta before he left spring training. I wanted to include this because it's kind of nothing, but I do think this entire situation of like cat and mouse is very interesting. She spoke to Freddy Peralta, asked him if he wanted to stay with the Mets long term. Obviously, his answer was the same. He said his family grew up in New York. He grew up a Mets and Red Sox fan. I used to listen to them talk about the Mets, the Mets, the Mets. No one rooted for the Yankees, which I thought was a funny quote. We're 2 days out. Do you think there's any shot the Freddy Peralta extensions happens before opening day?
I mean, there's always a chance. You never know. I don't think it makes sense. Let's see what he's got, and if he is who they think he is, they'll give him what he's worth on the open market. And if it doesn't work and he regresses just a little bit, and he's still a very good pitcher that he was 2 years ago, and it's not quite what it was last year, that's okay too. But there's no reason for him to take a discount.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there maybe if he really truly wants to be in New York, he might do that. So that's where the window is open. But it benefits both sides to kind of wait and see at this point, because you don't want to tie yourself to a guy. I mean, for some weird reason, let's say he doesn't work out well in New York because it's difficult. He's going to work out personality wise in New York because, I mean, I actually am a huge fan of him as a personality, as a human. I really like everything that I've heard not just he's one of the guys that I would have loved to play with. Mm-hmm. Like one of those guys where you're like, dang, like I get it. Like you bring that spark, that joy. So I don't think there's even an issue of it's New York that it doesn't work out for, but there are guys like that, and it's why risk it?
Yeah, I mean, the fan in me is looking long term because I'm just seeing clips of him in spring training. Everyone seems like they have so much fun around him, and I'm like, lock this guy up, keep him here, at all costs. But also, the realist in me is like, you have Freddy Peralta for the year no matter what, so just enjoy it. You have a frontline starter, you have an ace to pair with Nolan McLean. I think it's really cool that Peralta is kind of talking candidly, and it seems like he's having a good time, but you're probably right, like you usually are. Let's just see how it goes, whatever.
See how it goes.
This is why I'm not a GM. I would act emotionally all the time. I just give him whatever he wants. But that's, I think, pretty much it on the housekeeping side of things for opening day roster updates. We're as close to a finalized 26-man as we can possibly get as we look towards this Pirates series that's going to be starting up this weekend. Before we get to today's over-under section of the episode, I got to thank Fanatics Sportsbook for sponsoring today's episode of Shea Station. Winter is finally over, and opening day is just days away. Spring training is wrapping up, rosters are taking shape, and soon our national pastime will be back in full swing. Fanatics Sportsbook is your go-to for all baseball action across the league. They've got all your favorite baseball markets to bet on, plus you can earn up to 10% fan cash back on your wagers, whether they win or lose. Fan cash is Fanatics' signature currency. Use it on authentic MLB merch from Fanatics.com, exclusive experiences, profit boosts, and even bet with it like real cash. You're getting access to the world of sports every time you bet with Fanatics Sportsbook. They also have you covered with fair play player prop protection. If a player gets injured early in the game, your bet is refunded or that leg is voided and your parlay stays alive. Download the Fanatics Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOHNBOY when you do at sign up to claim an exclusive welcome offer. Winning hits different at Fanatics Sportsbook. Must be 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. CT, call 888-798-7777. MA, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. And Maryland, call mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook app for more. One preseason thing we like to do year in and year out is our custom over-unders that I drew up yesterday. I picked out 7 interesting lines for us to decide where these players are going to land. 4 of them are player-related. 3 of them are team-related. And I started with, I think the guy that we've probably spent, I think I could comfortably say in the history of Shea Station, we have spent the most time on the mic for an individual player talking about this guy. And it is Francisco Alvarez. We are enamored with Francisco Alvarez. He is an ongoing puzzle. He had another weird injury flare-up in the spring that thankfully subsided. I saw that back update and I got really sad. I think we both think that he's in for the best year of his career, but we always feel that way, and then something goes awry with Francisco Alvarez. I have his homer line set at 19.5 home runs for this year. Baseball Reference projects him at 16. Fangraphs projects him at 21. Alvarez has only hit more than 11 home runs in a season once in his career, which is hard to believe because I view him in my brain as such a power guy. That was in 2023 when he hit 25. He went through a weird year last year where he got demoted, came back up, was one of the best hitters in baseball over the last 2 months. Eric Chavez messed with his swing, then he went back down to minor leagues, and then he fixed his swing. A lot has happened with Francisco Alvarez. Going into this year, Jerry, how are you feeling about him offensively? What do you think of this line?
I think you already tipped the hat on what I think. I love Francisco Alvarez as a player. I think he's bound to break out. You know what I mean? Like, he's 24 years old. Catching is so difficult. He looked incredibly well that whole second half. We've seen him one full season. He hit 25. It's health-based because he's been prone to having, these little injuries that keep him out of having steady at bats. And that's what he needs. He needs that kind of consistency. I think I might die on this hill at some point, but I truly believe he is a superstar in the making. I believe it. I think it's just, you talked about it. They're tweaking swings and they're changing approach, and as they should. He's trying to figure out what it takes to be successful at this level. He'll figure it out, and I think he has now. And he's got all this protection, a lot of really different styles of player contact guys that he can kind of take from and speak on and chat with. I think he's due, and I think it's a low number. I think it's a very attainable number. If you would have raised it a few more, it would have been a little bit iffy, but this one's an easy over. And you know me, I'm an optimist at heart with pretty much everything. I'm going to take the over on Alvarez.
Yeah, I will also be taking the over expeditiously. I don't think I set it too low just because of the data that goes into it.
I agree with that.
And there's always something weird that happens with Francisco Alvarez. Like, he's never, even in the one straight up regular season he had, it was a catastrophic Mets season that happened around him. So even like he couldn't control that element, obviously, but we can't quit him. He's the drug we can't quit. I love watching Francisco Alvarez take massive hacks at the dish. I do not care if he strikes out. I do not care if his on base is close to 300, because all I want him to do is slug the baseball. I don't want him to go the opposite way. I don't want him to hit for contact and singles. I want him to try and hit the ball as hard as he possibly can every single time he comes up to the dish. And I do think if he does that for a full season, he will clear 20 home runs. So
yeah, I think with that, I think his swing decisions will be better too. Cause we saw what that was when when he first debuted, and he was swinging at balls 3 feet over his head when Hader was pitching. With maturity, with experience comes better swing decisions. But when you do decide, I agree. I want him to try to hit the shit out of that ball.
I mean, that's really it, man. I wanted to start us off with kind of a layup of a first one, because I kind of I knew where we were both going to land. I just want to give viewers this before we sign off, if I can pull the number quickly. Yes. July 27th was 21st was the day that Francisco Alvarez got promoted back up from AAA. Of players with at least 130 plate appearances in that window, he had a 561 slug and a 157 OPS plus. Both were top 15 marks in baseball in the second half. Extrapolate that over a full season, which you obviously can't do. That's unfair, but there's a lot to like with Francisco Alvarez at the plate, not even mentioning the framing, the arm, all that stuff. So we love Francisco Alvarez. I want to start it off with an easy one, because the rest of them aren't going to be as easy, and some of them are a little bit more topical as well. Our next one has to do with someone we just gave a lot of praise to, Carson Benge. Opening day roster. I didn't think it was going to happen. It does happen. I'm very excited to watch him play. There are some caveats to this decision. I think he fully earned the opportunity, but his numbers at AAA last year were pretty poor in a decent sample, about 100 plate appearances. So there is a question of how will he assimilate to major league pitching, especially, getting thrown into the fire that is Paul Skeens on opening day. My over-under for you is a games played one with Carson Benge. Do we think Carson Benge gets to 100 games played this year? Fangraphs projects him at 89 games. Again, he's only had 103 plate appearances against AAA or higher pitching. I think there is a world where Carson Benge has a tough first month. The Mets need to reassess what they have with this rookie, maybe give him more time at AAA like they kind of doing with Jonah Tong now. I can go first because I know you went first last time, but just instant thoughts. Carson Benge, 100 games played. What do you got?
Yeah, I want you to go first.
Okay, I tried
that's my initial thought.
I think the realist in me is going to pessimistically take the under here, just because I think that the Mets are due for a lot of moves at the deadline. I think that's always a given with how this team operates, how much they spend year in and year out. They have outfield options. We don't really know what the timetable is for Mike Tauchman, but they also brought in MJ Melendez. They have Nick Morabito, who plays a great defensive outfield. They have openly said they're still hunting on the waiver wire for bullpen and bench pieces as well, so there could be someone that comes in late. There's going to be pressure on Carson Benge, not the pressure of the world. I think they're tempering expectations with the situation. But I mean, we'll just have to wait and see, because we know that really the power is not really quite there yet. Right field at Citi Field isn't exactly an easy right field to play on a day-to-day basis. And he's really, a fast riser through the minor leagues. I'm hopeful that he can keep his hair on fire and keep it going. But I think I'm going to cautiously, to protect my own fan heart, take the under.
Wow, I didn't think you would go there.
I'm taking the under.
We're in agreement, though. Yeah, man. It's hard to hit in the big leagues, man. It's hard. It's a tough place to learn. It's really difficult to be a young guy on a team trying to compete.
Yeah.
Because when you're struggling, if your team is also struggling, you have a lot of leeway. But when this team is trying to win a World Series and you're a detriment to your team offensively, it weighs on you. And I went through that in Oakland. I was able to learn on the job with a team that wasn't expected to try to win. And I didn't have anybody asking me in my locker every day, what's going on? How you dealing with that? What's happening? It's a different animal here as a young guy. You have a lot of people. The media is a beautiful thing in New York, but it also can be tough to handle if you struggle at all. Now, I'm not anticipating him struggling. I don't think he is. I hope he plays 145 games and he's an all-star. He's capable of doing these things. But I'm a bit of a realist when it comes to doing the hardest thing to do in any sport, and that's hit a baseball.
Right.
And this team makes moves. Like you said, if they're competing and they need some pop or they need some more consistency towards the bottom of that lineup, they will make a move at the deadline. And if there's a weak spot, they'll figure it out. And most likely this would be a kid that's never had, a lot of time in AAA, let alone the big leagues. So I'm hoping for the best. I am anticipating that he blows this out of the water, but I'm also realistic, and that's a big over-under. So I'm going to take the under as well.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of us being realistic about a very chaotic situation that he's being placed in. I think we're going to learn a lot more about the makeup of Carson Benge, like what's in his DNA. Because there's going to be a lot of attention on him, more attention than you'd probably expect for a 9-hitting right fielder. But that's the situation that this Mets front office is placing him in with confidence. I think we're both in the boat of we're taking the under, but we're both secretly hoping this guy plays a full season, because I do think a full season of Carson Benge, even at this age, with his defense, with his speed, with his bat to ball, you're looking at a positive player. You're looking at a 2-win, 3-win player if he gets a full 140, 150 games. But for now, we'll temper our expectations. Expectations should be tempered as well with our next player, who's also going through a little bit of news that we just mentioned, Sean Manaea. Now, Sean Manaea's line is going to be about games started, because we don't really know what his role is going to be as the year evolves. We knew him in 2024 as kind of the innings guy alongside David Peterson, and he filled that role beautifully. Last year wasn't the case. Had a weird bout of injury, never got those bone fragments removed from his arm. I'm still a little iffy on that, but obviously we don't know the whole situation. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. But he's not going to be in the rotation to start the year. Obviously, injuries happen. There's going to be opportunities. The Mets starting pitching depth chart is also pretty deep. They got guys, they have a pretty stacked AAA rotation as far as minor league rotations go. So I set the line for Sean Manaea at 14.5 games started. For a little bit of context, he started 28 games in 2022 as a Padre. He started 10 games in 2023 in a swing role with the Giants. Then 32 games started in 2024. That was a career high with the Mets. And then last year, just 12, mostly due to injury and poor performance. So will Sean Manaea uptick and return to a full-time starting role, or do you kind of project him staying in the swing role for the long term because it might be the best situation to place him in as this sort of 2 to 3 inning guy? For reference, Fangraphs projects him at 18 games started. Jerry, I'll let you tee this one off.
Yeah, so you set the over-under at 14.5, right?
14.5, yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm going to take the over. I mean,
Okay.
I still believe in him. I believe the velo is a thing of the past. I think it's coming back up. I mean, we saw 92 in the inter squad. I think it's ticking back up. I think the adrenaline, once that kicks in, that'll work itself out. And baseball's hard, and pitching is the worst thing you can do for your arm. Your people are going to go down or need a break, and he's going to slide in. He's going to get every opportunity to start the year, and I believe in him. I think he'll get the over. You can have multiple people make 15 starts, a lot to fill out this season. And I just believe in him as a player. I believe in the contract is going to be, they're going to want him to have every opportunity to earn a spot back in that rotation because they got him for next year too. So I think every bit of in Manaea, and I'm going to be optimistic on him having some success and bouncing back and feeling good. And, I'll take the over here.
Yeah, I think the best situation for Manaea and the Mets obviously is him back in the rotation and producing. I think I am going to take the under. I think that he is really going to be successful in this role. I know it's not the role he wants or envisions for himself, obviously. I do think the Mets care about velo. I mean, a lot of the guys in the back in their bullpen are just old guys that can throw hard, and I think that's really what they're prioritizing. I also think I wouldn't be surprised if guys in AAA got an opportunity before Manaea. Like, I think Christian Scott might be in the conversation before Manaea. He had a really good spring. He looks good. Jonah Tong, I know this organization is in love with. I know they want him to get seasoning at AAA. I think those guys will get opportunities before Manaea, not because Manaea is performing poorly, but actually because Manaea is performing well. It's kind of what you said before of him pinning himself into a corner for being good in the swing role in the few times that we've seen it. I think he's really going to excel, and I think the guys that are sort of 5 and fly in our rotation, like a Clay Holmes or something like that, will benefit from having someone like Manaea backing them up and extending their length, if that makes sense. So I will take the under, but also if he ends up over, I think we're in a good situation, being that Sean Manaea has redeemed himself as a starting pitcher.
I could see both ways. I think the betting money would be on your side of things as far as the over under, because again, you're right. I'm not sure. I think Christian Scott is ready to be in the big leagues, but coming off of a long layoff after injury, what are they going to do towards the end of the season? So that's when he could, run out of innings pitched. I think Jonah Tong needs a lot of seasoning. I think he's going to be great in the big leagues, but he needs to figure out and mature a little bit when it comes to body language and how to carry yourself and how to handle the ups and downs of what comes throughout a start, or an inning, let alone a season. I think he just has some maturing to do, and I think he will do it. Winninger's ready to go, but I think Manaea ultimately, I could see him succeeding so well there, but also I can see him sliding right into that 6-man and then eventually being in the 5-man for when somebody needs to bow out for a little bit.
It's going to be an interesting equation, and it's also going to bleed into an over-under that we'll do in a little bit that we'll get right back to, but I wanted to include this one because it is fun. It is, I think, probably the most forgotten storyline of the 2025 Mets because there was so much chaos at the end of the season. The focus, I think, goes on more of the guys that went out the door, like Alonso and Diaz. You sometimes forget that last year's National League stolen base leader was Juan Soto with 38 stolen bases. It was out of nowhere. Antoine Richardson is no longer with the club. He's with the Braves now. So let's see what Brave pops for 40 stolen bases this year. Probably Matt Olson with like 20 or something. But Juan Soto, a complete outlier in his career. He had 57 career stolen bases in 936 games going into last year. That's about 10 stolen bases per a full season. And then he stole 38. So my question to you is, will Juan Soto get to 30 stolen bases again this year? I set the line at 29.5. Baseball Reference projects him at 18. Fangraphs projects him at 24. Will Juan Soto be running as much? Will it even matter? I can go first because I know we've been kind of alternating, but I'm also really curious to see what you have to say.
I'll go first here. I'm hammering the under.
No,
I am. I hope I'm wrong because he was so successful last year doing it. He led the league.
Yeah,
he led
crazy.
the National League in stolen bases. It's one of the, I mean, that's going to be a trivia question forever.
It's crazy. It's absolutely
It's
crazy.
crazy. The guy
Second in
is
MLB.
slow.
Second in
He's
MLB.
slow.
It's nuts.
And it's not like a small number. It wasn't like, 22 led the league because that was just the era. Dude, this guy stole so many bases last year. Is Antoine Richardson the whisperer? Like, are we going to see that? Maybe. I do expect him to kind of pull the trigger every once in a while, but to be honest, I don't want him stealing that many bags.
Okay.
I don't. I want him to kind of calm down. It was like a Brandon Nimmo thing. Like Nimmo just never looked comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
He was always an injury risk on his fingers. I want Juan Soto to bat as often as possible for as long as possible. So I'm going to take the under, and I think he comes back down to earth. I think this was the biggest blip on anything that's ever happened of him stealing that many bases. And I bet it's in the teens.
Wow. Okay, that's quite the bet. But so you don't even think he gets to 20?
I don't think he tries anymore. I think he goes back to who he was. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think you are wrong. I'm taking the over. I think Juan Soto gets back to
love
30.
it.
I think my running bet here with this line is that I think in the instances that Francisco Lindor doesn't get on base, which will be few and far between, he's a great player, I think Juan Soto steals after his walks to get in scoring position for Bo Bichette. I think Antoine Richardson was fundamental in the learning of whatever went into Juan Soto's timing and stuff like that, but I do think that skill is transferable. I think it's more part of the Mets coaching staff than we let on. I could be wrong. There could be egg on my face for sure. It could be Antoine Richardson is the man and the only man who can crack the code here. But I also think Juan Soto likes that he could steal bases now. I think that he likes that it's part of his baseball card. I think it adds an element to his game that he didn't have before. And I think it might be a pride point for him. So I'm going to take the over, hoping that Juan Soto provides us with another 30-30 season.
I love it. I love it. I mean, coming into last year, he'd only have two seasons of double digits, and they were capped at 12.
Yeah, but what were you doing in 2019? What were you even doing?
I was pitching in Atlanta.
Yeah, and
that's how long ago that was.
It's a blip. It's fake. You in a Braves uniform doesn't exist.
He had 12 and 23.
Right. Good player.
Yeah, I mean, and then 38. Like, it's amazing what he did. It's amazing what he did.
It's utterly ridiculous.
You're right, though. It makes sense to me that he would steal to get, because Bo Bichette's numbers with runners in scoring position it's truly unbelievable what he's done and how much better he is as a hitter when runners are in scoring position because of his approach. I would love to see it, but I don't think it's happening. I think we see a regression back to the mean.
I hate when we fight, Jerry. I truly hate it.
I'd be happy to be wrong. I'll tell you.
There you go. That'll do it for our player over-unders. We have 3 team over-unders left, and this is where we get down to the nitty-gritty. This first one, it was kind of the theme of the collapse of the 2025 Mets. The pitching simply ran out. Everybody got a shot. No one was doing a good job, essentially, besides Nolan McLean towards the end. The Mets, they have a lot of depth. I think it's something that they pride themselves on. I think the league respects the amount of depth, even if a lot of it isn't top end. My question to you, Jerry Blevins, how many starting pitchers will the Mets use this year? Last year, they used 17 starting pitchers. That is a lot of starting pitchers. You might be thinking, a lot of them were probably openers. No, only 3 of them were. I looked into it. There were 14 true starting pitchers last year. Clay Holmes, David Peterson, Kodai Senga, Griffin Canning, Tyler McGill, Sean Manaea, Nolan McLean, Frankie Montas, God, remember Frankie Montas, Jonah Tong, Paul Blackburn, Yankees legend, Brandon Sproat, Blade Tidwell, Brendan Waddell, and Justin Hagenman, plus 3 openers. That's a lot of names. That list doesn't even include Christian Scott, Freddy Peralta, and Tobias Myers, who are now all either back with the Mets or newly on the Mets. I set the line at 9.5 starting pitchers. They're rolling with the 5-man out of the gate. Sean Manaea will probably get a look. A couple of guys in AAA knocking on the door. Jerry, I'm going to confidently take the under this year. I'm going to take the under. And I think you might think that I'm crazy, and that's fair, but I'm hoping that last year was a blip. And I'm hoping that last year can also be a learning for the Mets organization of how to properly protect their starting pitchers. I love the concept of Manaea piggybacking out of the gate. Let's not overwork these guys early because the Mets got great pitching performances early in the season and then tailed off towards the end. I think their philosophy with this unit will be a lot better this year. I also think that you're not going to see as many starts, hopefully, with the fringe quadruple A guys. As much as I respect guys like Brendan Waddell and Justin Hagenman, I don't really want them starting games this year. I'm going to hopefully, I think it's going to be right at the line. I think it's going to be like 9 probably, but that's 2 rotations worth of pitchers essentially. I'm going to take the under at 9.5.
This is the most we've ever disagreed, I think, because I'm taking the over.
Yeah, I knew it.
I just like this one is. I went back looking through the Mets for the last 10 years.
Wow, and
they've only been under one time.
Shit, really?
Yeah, and that was 2019.
Great year.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Because you had great starters. You had DeGrom, Syndergaard, Wheeler, and Matz all made 30-plus starts.
Huge. We need that. Lugo,
yes.
Right? He's on that rotation. Mid-season.
What's that?
Lugo, I think, gets in there mid-season.
Stroman came in and made some. I think we had Lugo or hold on, I'll pull it up real quick.
Is that the Jared Eichhoff year, or is that 2021?
That was 21.
That was 21. Shout out Jared Eichhoff.
Yeah. You got 18 starts from Jason Vargas.
Oh no!
You had 11 from Stroman. I don't even know who this is. Walker Lockett got 4.
I remember Wilmer Font. Oh, and
Wilmer Font, and then Chris Flexen got 1.
Shit. No starts for Lugo or Gazelman.
That's right. I would have put money on both of those guys making a start.
Easy
but that was
money.
the last time. That was the last time in 10 years, the only time in 10 years that it's been under. And they're already at 6-man. They're already talking about 6 people in the starting rotation.
That's fine.
You mentioned Tobias Myers, correct? That's 7.
Yeah.
I think Christian Scott and Jonah Tong get at least 1 start, so that's 9. And then you've got to fill in a spot.
I think you're right there. Bang.
You talked about Waddell. We talked about Dickie Lovelady, or an opener, Huascar Brazaban. Some type of one. We could find one random guy in there. So I'm taking the over.
Go smoothly and perfect this year. That's what they always say.
I would happily be wrong on this one.
Jerry, I got a fun trivia question for you.
Oh, okay.
Years that stick out in my mind is like collapses where the pitching ran out. 2021 is also one of those years. Do you want to guess how many starting pitchers we used in 2021?
2021. Oh boy. It doesn't feel like a lot because they collapsed, but it wasn't like they got hurt. 13.
You and producer Andrew Biondi both guessed 13. You guys are only 6 pitchers off the mark. They used 19 starting pitchers in 2021. Wow. By my count, it looks like 5 of them are openers. Like Tommy Hunter got a start, but
oh yeah,
this list is awesome. We got 12 starts from Rich Hill that year. We got 4 from Jared Eichhoff. We got 2 from Robert Stock, 1 from Jordan Yamamoto, 1 from Corey Oswalt. So shout out the 2021 Mets.
Hold on. The one big name that you failed to mention is he's a name out there on the market. Possibly they're going to pick him up. His name is Joey Lucchesi.
Joey Lucchesi, Churv, baby.
He had
so
he
many
came
legends.
up and that's right. He came up through 8 shutout in San Francisco.
Yeah, throw him a minor league deal. Come on now.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Trevor Williams is on here. This is a good
He's got
list.
that dog in him.
He's got that dog in him. He's got a unique pitch, bro. We got the Airbender. Let's get the Churv. Come on. 1 of 1 pitches.
Ghost Fork, Airbender, Churv, all in the same rotation.
And then whatever the hell Nolan McLean calls his pitches,
That's right. If they're pitching ninja, we gotta get you to name some pitches.
Yeah, seriously. All right. Well, hopefully less starting pitchers used results in more consistent winning And this one I did steal from Talking Yates because I thought it was a fun over-under line. The longest win streak of the year. I tweeted something out yesterday. I did the thing that you absolutely should not do as a pundit. I schedule watched before games even started. It's nasty
I saw that.
but I cannot help myself. From April 21st to May 10th, the Mets have 9 games at home against the Twins, Rockies, and Nats, then 9 games on the road versus the Angels, Rockies, and Diamondbacks. That looks like prime time to get fat on some wins. It had me thinking about win streaks of the past. The Mets' biggest win streak since 2015, was in 2024 when they won 9 games in a row in late August and early September to help their playoff push. Last year, they won 7 in a row twice. So I'm thinking, can the Mets match that highest win total since 2015? I set the line at 8.5 games. Does this team have a magic run in them at some point in this season? Jerry, I teed off the last one. Are you going over or under for our win streak?
I'm going to take the over here.
Yeah,
this is a fun one.
Come on.
I really enjoyed this as an over under because it's a complete fluke of a thing.
Absolutely.
Like, it doesn't mean anything. It's so difficult to do, but I like the way this roster is constructed for this type of streak. They have really consistent quality starting pitching, or what should be that. Freddy Peralta, Peterson, McLean, Clay Holmes, Singa, Manaea. Like, these guys can be good 2 times in a row, at least, and that would be over. And then you have, like, this isn't a ton of swing and miss in this lineup. They have guys that put the ball in contact, that steal bases if need be, that move the guys over. They should play much better defense. And not to mention they have, Juan Soto and Lindor ready to smash some home runs and put some people in. I just like the way the roster's constructed for a prolonged streak. I think it's a fun one. They've got a solid back end of the bullpen to not blow those games, hopefully. I think this is a fun one, and I'll take the over.
I'm taking the over as well. I mean, we know the Mets always get off to a pretty decent start, even in their bad years. I mean, in their one great year from the 2020s, they actually got off to a horrible start. But I do think this team has a hot start in them. They have a weird West Coast thing going on with the schedule. They have 3 West Coast trips in the first 5 weeks of the year. But also that hasn't really hurt them a ton in the past. I feel like we've had good stories of Mets road trips over the past. It's more been divisional play that's been a thorn in their side recently. I think they got a 9-game heater in them this year. I think it's in that late April, early May range because they're just, in my head, a first half team. But also pretty consistently every year, we've seen at least 7 games in a row won by this team, even with different roster makeups and all that stuff. I love what you said about the consistency in the lineup and the rotation. I think that'll help them a lot. I think they'll be able to find the innings they need to put together a long heater like this. And also, I'm being a fan. I want to see a 9-game heater. That would be a really fun week and a half for me and you, so I will also take the over. How about it?
Good. I love that. That is a weird, the schedule's strange. They don't play the Phillies or the Braves until June or July.
It makes
it's
me
wild.
feel like kind of a curmudgeon and a little bit of an old head, but dude, come on. I don't get to see my division rival until the summer. What are we doing?
I don't. The good thing about the West Coast is it's going to be cold for, April in a lot of places. And the West Coast is not cold, unless you're going to Seattle.
Right. Also, I mean, the Mets get a pretty good, start for their pitching too, because they have Pittsburgh offense, they have St. Louis offense, and then the Giants at Oracle, and then a lot of the other teams I mentioned. So the pitching will get some soft footing to start the year. That's kind of nice.
Cool.
Speaking of divisional opponents that I mentioned before, this is a big one. This is an important one. This is kind of what is going to swing your season. I didn't set this at wins against division opponents. No disrespect to the Nats and Marlins. The Marlins literally ended our season last year. But I did focus on the Braves and Phillies because that does feel like what's going to crack out to be the top 3 in the NL East. It's what's been the top 3 for a while. Wins against the Braves and the Phillies. In 2025, the Mets went 12-14 against the Braves and the Phillies. They actually had a winning record against the Phillies despite getting 4 games swept at the end of the year. They did go 5-8 against the Braves because, of course, they did. Even in the Braves' worst season in years, the Mets were still 3 games under against them because that's obvious. In 2024, the Mets also went 12-14 against the Phillies and Braves. They went 6-7 against both of them. The last time the Mets had a positive record against these two teams was in 2022 when they went 23-9 14-15. We used to play a lot of games against our own division. I kind of miss it. They went 14-5 against the Phils that year and 9-10 against the Braves. So my question to you, Jerry, can the Mets score a winning record against their division rivals this year? I set the line at 13.5 wins, which would be a 14-12 record against the Braves and Phillies. I think it would make a huge difference. I am going to take the over. I'm taking the over on this one. The Braves pitching staff is beleaguered right now. They have an entire rotation on the IL. I do think that's going to hurt them in the long run as their pitching will get tested immediately. And if you look at the Mets' record against the Phillies the past few years, even with the Phillies coming out on top in the division for the past couple of years, the Mets have had the winning record against them. The 4-game sweep, obviously, at the end of the last year, I treat as sort of the Mets being down and out. The Phillies were, they had Harrison Bader, devil magic going. They were just the team to beat at that point. I think that we'll still get the best of the Phillies in our matchups against them. So I'm confident. I think they can squeak out a winning record against both these teams, and I will take the over on this one.
I like that. This one I'm kind of torn on. I was... Because you don't need to beat these guys to win the division.
You don't. I mean,
yeah, you don't play them as much. It doesn't mean as much, which I am an old head in that sense. Where I miss the division rivals on a larger scale.
Yeah, come on.
And I believe that this is. I think this team is one built to just demolish lesser opponents. We've had the Mets in the last few years feel like they always kind of have been playing to their opponent.
I just want to say, you know how I feel about using first-person pronouns with the team. That is, you get a green light every day of the week. I'm on the team.
Well, I can with you. If I do that on at SNY, I think I'll get yelled at in my ear.
Too many rules for my liking. Too many rules.
Oh, it's fun though. It's fun. I'm a rule breaker, contrarian as is, but I have no problem with it either. If you say it, it doesn't hurt my feelings. And there's a lot of push for somebody that does my job to be kind of neutral. I'm rooting for the Mets.
I'm a Mets fan. I'm media technically, but I'm a Mets fan.
Yeah. And I root for players all around. I love my teammates and my friends, and I root for the A's and I root for the Mets. These are my two teams that I love. I can give analysis without bias.
Right.
But if I'm going to watch a game, I want them to win. It's better for us too. And the people that I enjoy interacting. Anyway, rant over. That's a weird one. So I'm going to take the under.
Okay.
And I don't think they get demolished by the Phillies and the Braves, but I think playing the Phillies later in the season, allowing Wheeler to come back, letting these kind of guys get figured out. I think they're still the cream of the crop when it comes to the division. And I don't think the Mets feel like they have to win the division to make the playoffs and make a good run. So I don't think they're just hammering this. I think there's some young pitchers that haven't felt that rivalry yet of Atlanta and Philly that might have a hiccup here or there. Ultimately, I think the Mets are good and they make the playoffs, and I have them, going far. But Atlanta always plays the Mets tough, and Philly are a great team. So I'm just going to take the under just for the fun of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the under here either. I'm just trying to be optimistic, but like you said, the NL East matchups are front-loaded at the beginning with Marlins and Nats in the first few months. Then from June 12th to August 12th, you've got 3 against the Braves at home, 3 in Philly, 3 against the Phillies at home, 4 in Atlanta, 3 in Philly, 3 against the Braves at home, 3 in Atlanta. That is, I would say, probably 75% of the games you play in this 2-month window.
I don't think that's where you get your winning streak.
I don't think that's where the Mets are going to rip off 9 in a row.
Could be though. It could be. You never know.
You know where they're going to rip off 9 in a row? Final 9 games of the season: 3 against Philly at home, 3 in Texas, 3 in DC. Book it.
That'd be beautiful.
They squeak into the playoffs somehow, some way. So those are our squeak. I shouldn't say squeak. Shit. I picked them to win the division this year on Talking
Good for you. Yeah, you said it. You said it.
I never say it. You can
publicly.
You can vouch for me.
I can. You've never said it before.
I never said that. I never say that. And I want to win the division. It'd be nice. So that is the end of our over-under lines. But there's one more thing we need to get to, Jerry. It is the return of a classic Shea Station segment that will be part of the show every week in the regular season. It is the Apple of Our Eye, presented by Coors Banquet. They brought it back as they know what's up. We obviously can't do one with spring training games because, I mean, we'd probably just both pick like Carson Benge or something. That'd be too easy. So I decided to spin it a little bit for the Apple of Our Eye for the first one of the year. What Mets player do you think is going to have a career best season in 2026? Obviously, we think Juan Soto is going to be good, but Bichette's going to be good. So I wanted to spin it and say, what player do you think will take a step forward and have the best season of their career this upcoming year?
First of all, I want to talk about Apple of Our Eye. Like, this brings me back to the beginnings of Shea Station and why, we have been doing this for the love of the game. I have enjoyed being your podcast partner and learning a lot about what it is behind the scenes and production and sound and all the above. We had fun, like logos and coming up with music and coming up with these ideas on how to talk about the segments of our show. Right. And this was one where I was like, yeah, let's have this idea. And it was fun. I'm glad it's back. The Apple of Our Eye. It makes sense with the home run apple. We thought we were so clever.
We are clever. What are you talking about?
Exactly. I was going to say it. See, we're playing the long game here, Jolly.
Exactly.
I have two answers for this one, for the Apple of my eye. Number one is a cheat code because Carson Benge, no matter how he does, is going to have he's going to have a career best year because he doesn't have a career yet.
Jobless individual.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like this is the difference. When you're in the minor leagues, you're working to get to the big leagues. When you get to the big leagues, these are the first statistics that go on the back of your card that anyone's going to care about.
Right.
So technically, I win because he's going to have a career year because it's his only career.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of a cop-out, Jerry. It's
100%. That's why I backed it up with a real answer. Okay, good. And it's one that we talked about at the top of the show, and that's Francisco Alvarez, man.
I knew it. Come on.
It's an easy answer. Yeah. It's chalky, but it's us sticking true because I believe in this guy. He's 24 now. I think it's time for him. We gave him a lot of leeway. This is how old I was when I made my debut. This is a lot of guys. This is like age when they made it and ascended. He was such a spark plug when he first came up, and he earned it on his pedigree and his like ceiling on what he could be when he got called up. He's had some underperformance. He's had a ton of injuries. He is an injury risk, playing catcher too. I just think he's such a key to unlocking. As good as like if Kodai Senga returns to prominence in the rotation, I think if Francisco Alvarez ascends to where we think he's capable of being, I think this is like one of the best lineups, if not the best lineup in baseball, if he's at his best. I truly believe that. And I think he's more likely to be better than worse. And his career year the bar's kind of low. Even when he hit 25 homers, like there was a lot of holes in his game. I just think he puts it all together this year.
Yeah, I mean, that was always the play for you, I think. It was, if you didn't do it, I was going to do it because we love Francisco Alvarez.
That's why I go first, man.
Yeah, exactly. But I do agree. I think this is the year where things really start to finally come together for him. Like you said, even when he hit 25 home runs, he hit 209 that year. His on-base was well below 300. I think he's just a more well-rounded hitter in this version of himself. Because, I mean, even last year when he had such bad stretches, still finished with a 122 OPS plus. Like, that's a very, very talented hitter that will be hitting, like, 6th in the Mets lineup. Like, there's not going to be pressure on him to produce at that high level to protect anybody in this lineup. I'm going to go, I also have two. I have a hitter and a pitcher. So,
cool. I'll pick a pitcher after you. Then we'll do that.
So that's gonna give you 3. Wow, it's really
no. I can't take Carson Benge. That's cheating. That's a loophole.
I'll give you my pitcher first. I'm very high on this guy. He had an awesome spring. His role is a little bit in flux. He could end up being a long guy. He could end up the closer of the team. He could end up a back end or front end starter. I think the Mets did very well for themselves getting Tobias Myers in the Freddie Peralta trade. I think we're going to see the best of his career at age 27 in his 3rd season. His rookie year made 25 starts with a 3 ERA. That's kind of hard to beat, but I do think the Mets are going to unlock insanely high strikeout potential with him. He's got nasty stuff at deep pitch mix. The velo is there, and I think that his arm has matured a little bit as well. And I think he's in a really good situation with the Mets where he's going to have a spot no matter what. It's just that spot might be a little undefined, and I think his mentality with that has been very strong. And that's also kind of what I use to pick my hitter as well, which is Brett Baty. Brett Baty, like I said with Tobias Myers, will have a spot no matter what. It might be as your DH, as your first baseman, as your third baseman, as your left fielder. He's played pretty much everywhere, and he's done it all with grace, and he's matched in spring training like he does every single year. I think that the mentality on this dude is awesome. I think that the Mets were right to protect him in any trade talks as we saw his name floated a little bit. He is a piece of this core for the future. He's here for the long term. And I think last year was just a sneak peek into what Brett Baty can truly be at the major league level. He was a 3-WAR player. I think he can be a 4-WAR player. I think he can hit 20 home runs. I really, really like Brett Baty, and I think no matter where he ends up playing on the lineup card, he's probably going to be a DH opening day, but I think he plays the full season, and he has his best year so far.
I love that. That was, this is risky, man. That's a risky pick, Brett Baty. I believe in him too. We saw what happened, with Mark Vientos
right.
and what happened to him on his second year. But I think the under for Carson Benge on games played might be simply because Brett Baty takes the job.
Yeah, maybe.
I've been so impressed with his versatility defensively. He was a well below average third baseman when he started. He was a great third baseman, a solid second baseman. Not great. He was very good third baseman. Yeah. He was a good enough, if not above that, second baseman, and he's looked comfortable in the outfield when I've seen it. So impressed with him, the way he's carried himself. I like that pick. I think Tobias Myers on your pitching aspect is really good. I think he's a great player. I think he's a perfect fit for this organization and where they need him, where he can slide into what he's capable of doing. I like that pick. I'm going to pick for my apple on the pitching side. I'm going to pick somebody that I feel is underappreciated, and that's Clay. It's Clay Holmes, man.
I knew it. You love Clay Holmes.
I love Clay Holmes, and I love him more because nobody talks about how good he was last year.
Yeah.
He was excellent. He ran out of gas a little bit, but he was adaptable. We were talking sinker slider guy, and he went to the four seamer. His sinker didn't have it, and he had the ability to pivot wherever he was, and he had a really good year last year. He looks incredible this spring training. His sinker looks really good. He started throwing a curveball that looks like it has a lot of depth and a harder slider at times. He's got that sweeper that goes with it. He's bringing a full repertoire to a season which was already really good last year. I think Clay Holmes is going to be a guy, and I really like to bring him up because people, I think, underappreciate him. With Freddy Peralta coming over, I think Nolan McLean, rightfully so, has all these spotlights on him because of his pure stuff. I just feel like he gets forgotten, and I like to bring his name up.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to bring this up too because like you said, there's a lot to the storyline of like he ran out of gas. From August 17th to the end of the season, he made 7 starts and 2 relief appearances. He pitched 40 innings. He had a 2.95 ERA. He was our best pitch. He was the only pitcher besides McLean that was putting together any sort of quality outing down the stretch when the Mets were crumbling. And I do think with 1 year of starting pitching under his belt, he's more built up now. He's more equipped to handle a full season. He made 31 starts. That's a ton of starts for a guy who had 4 career starts before this year. So I think you're very right to be optimistic on Clay Holmes as like the 4 guy in this rotation who's probably going to get run the entire season. I like to pick.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. And that was the apple of our eye presented by Coors Banquet. Shout out to them for presenting the whole show. I think that is going to be it for the show. It was a long one, an hour long, new sponsors, big updates from our lives, from the Mets and all that stuff. We're close to opening day. We are painstakingly close. I cannot wait to have all eyes on the Mets versus Paul Skeens and the Pirates It is going to be a boatload of fun, and we will be back next Tuesday and every Tuesday moving forward to recap all things Mets. Jerry, you got anything else?
Nah, man, thank you. This has been fun. It was a long one, but rightfully so. We had to reintroduce the show, if you will.
The rebirth of Shea Station. Hell yeah. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching. You are the reason we are back on a weekly schedule. So if you enjoyed today's episode, leave a like on the video, leave us a review on a podcast app wherever you're listening, subscribe to the YouTube channel, interact on our socials. We really appreciate all of it. It's going to be a very fun year of Mets baseball in 2026. LFGM, baby.
Let's go Mets, and thank you guys.
Shea Station, Jerry and Charlie. Shea Station, Jerry and Charlie. Thank you all for coming. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will see you next time, where we'll be back.
Station.